Welcome to a new Planetside 2 peek at the future. Yes, I know. But today I wanted to look at the new Indar changes that have recently been posted onto the PTS. I'm going to leave links on this main title page to all the different bases so you can skip directly to them. So the warp gates, that coal tower warp gate change that we saw, months ago now, that has now been pushed out to all the different bases on Indar. The ocean warp gate, which is the top one in that kind of dry bed ocean, that has been moved to the west slightly. In all these videos you'll see that quite often I've maximised the minimap. That's because the minimap still shows the old Indar layout, so it's quite easy to see the differences between how it used to be or how it is now on live and the changes that are up on PTS. There's a number of smaller outposts as well, such as NS Salvage Yard, that's now been removed from the lattice. Quite a lot of these bases have actually disappeared entirely, and we'll show an example of that coming up later on. So first we've got Indar Waste Treatment. There's been some additional Sunder Recoverer added, a hackable equipment terminal been added, and redirected the flow from the warp gate is how it says. So there's now a bridge just to the west of the warp gate that links you to Indar Waste Treatment. So no massive changes here, but a few little refinements. Obviously this is a base that's very near the warp gate as well, so at least in my experience you don't get that many fights here. Okay, Briggs Laboratories. A few more changes have been made here. There's some additional Sunder Recover been added, but one of the major changes is that that mini spawn room is now a major spawn room. It's that multi-level defences on the top one that you can see in, say, a tech plant. It's that size of spawn room now. Also, the cap point's been moved. If you remember, the previous A point was right next to the tower. Well, that A point has now been moved more into the central courtyard area. So it's kind of in the middle. Beforehand it was quite easy to camp around the corner from that tower. Now it's right in the middle there. Okay, this one's close to my heart actually. This is Indar Comm Array. And from the notes, lowered the top of the Mesa by approximately 20 to 30 meters. That actually saddens me a bit. I used to love this attack, even when it wasn't, going so well. The idea of attacking up this steep hill to this huge summit, I really enjoyed. So I'm kind of saddened to see that that dropped down a bit. Also, there's a small Sunder garage, as you can see, basically where that unofficial Sunder garage always was. Apparently there's been better cover for attackers coming from Dahaka Southern Post. Makes things attacking a little bit easier. There's an increase in the pain field size on the spawn room, just to stop that spawn camping a bit. But one of the other main changes is that the vehicle spawn has now been moved to the front of the base. So that vehicle spawn that was effectively behind the spawn room, and then your vehicle spawned right down in the valley to the south, that's completely been removed now. Next one on the list, but not in the video, West Highlands checkpoint has actually been removed from the lattice, and it's just been replaced by a large Sunder garage. The same thing with East Canyon checkpoint, that's been removed. Sandstone Gulch, that's been removed as well. And Black Shard Iridium Mine, that's been removed as well. You'll see the effect of that a little bit later on. So this is Camp Connery, one of the larger tower bases. The main change here is the A point has been moved from the tower out to that outer building there. That's just to the western side of the base. So there's now no points in the tower itself. You're going to see that becoming a bit of a theme actually. That seems to be something that the devs are now pushing. There's also an additional road added to the north side. You can just see on the minimap, compared to as it is in the actual footage, that there's an extra road been added there as well. There's also additional Sunder cover and spots for Sunderers scattered around the base. Next we have Indar Excavation. A few more changes here as well. Again, the A cap point has been moved from the tower into the nearby building. So that's the building to the east. There's another additional road been added to the north. Additional cover again and more Sunder spots. But the main change is to the B point. You'll remember the B point was quite an open area. After all, it's an excavation site, isn't it? So these bones that are being excavated were right over by B point. That now has turned into a small kind of hut thing. And again, I'm a bit sad to see the old point go. I used to like the little boxes to hide behind, just next to B point. But quite often it was easy to get pinned down from fire from the tower. Well, now there's quite a bit more defense here at B point. There are some bones still hanging from the ceiling, so things haven't completely changed. It's a little bit more defensible for people trying to hold that point down. Okay, on to Indar Bay Point. Again, some major changes here. And also again, the cap point has moved from the tower out into an outside building. There's actually a brand new building been added. Not only a brand new building, but a brand new type of building as well. Extra roads have been added to reduce the choke points. This is all in aid of making it easier for attackers to progress over the vehicle bridge. But yeah, you can see this building is actually quite a big addition. Look on the mini-map, and there was nothing there before. Nothing there at all. Also, B point that was further out, that's been reined in slightly. That's slightly nearer the tower. But this new point at A, this new building, obviously it's in the Planetside 2 style, but it has so many doors. Just looking at it here, trying to hold this building down, trying to hold every entrance down, is going to be tough. This kind of more front side, it's got 3 doors in each corner. I don't know even if that looks a little bit silly to me, I don't know. I do like this different building type in terms of variation and stuff across the bases, that's good. But we shall see how it plays. Maybe this will be a point that gets flipped more often. Also, those ramp stairs you see, those are a new addition to the game as well. You'll be seeing those in a few more bases as we progress through. Okay, Quartz Ridge Camp next. And the slightly odd spawn room, that has changed. The spawn room, if you remember, had like a weird teleport building, like almost a stone's throw from it, that was just weird. Well, that teleport room has gone, and a larger spawn room has been added. They've also added a way for infiltrators to hack the vehicle terminal. They can't get up to where the spawn room is, because there's like a drop point there. But infiltrators can now flip that terminal and pull vehicles a bit easier. On to Hvar Tech Plant, and for the greater Hvar region, it's lowered the height of the plateau significantly, that's what the notes say. They've disabled the turrets from the flight deck, but the major thing is it moved the superstructure further back on the plateau, opening up more space for fights between the tech plant and its satellite bases. And if you look at the minimap, you can see how much distance has been made. Where the old spawn room was to where it is now, on PTS, there's a huge change. Just look at where the cap point is now in relation to where it used to be. The cap point now is where the old banana building was. This area always was a bit congested, so it's cool to see a bit more space, but this whole area has had lots more changes, as you're about to see. Okay, we all remember Hvar Northgate. Again, look at the minimap and you can see what it used to look like. That big battlement for people to attack as they come up from Quartz Ridge. Well, it's had another redesign. I think this is the 3rd that I remember now. There used to be a spawn room just beside those rocks tucked behind there, and then there was this last change that we have on live, and now there's another complete redesign of the base. This is no longer the Northgate, this has been renamed Hvar Databank. Complete redesign been done. So they're saying that they pulled much of the fortification, the walls and gate shield, out of the base for better balance and defensibility, saying that it still has a big height advantage. We've all had that experience of pushing up from Quartz Ridge and not making it past this first point. It was really quite a defensible area, and although you might argue that this has lost a little bit of that charm, it certainly opened up the area in which you move into as you come up from Quartz Ridge. There's small Sundra huts. Much more place to get a foothold before you actually push into the tech plant. These Sundra huts and other areas are taking that new design style that we have recently been pushing into PS2. But again, we're seeing more of those stair ramps. Not overly sure how I feel about those currently. And again, one of those new building types for the main cap point area. Another point, just look at how far away the tech plant is now from this, what was the north gate. That's quite a distance. It used to be almost up against it. If you had vehicles in the north gate, you could almost fire on the tech plant. But now there's quite a bit more distance. Okay, onto Hvar South Gate. This has had similar changes made. Quite a few more buildings added for sure. Hvar South Gate is now Hvar Physics Lab. Again, look on the minimap and you could see there wasn't that many buildings. Well, now there are a large number of buildings, and some of them really large in structure. There's like a central wide bridge area. There's a huge superstructure for the main 8-point building. A proper full-size spawn room. But they've not removed every part of the old base. You can see that that is still like a old battlement main gate area with 2 large towers that we had in the previous base. That also has the vehicle shield generator on top of it as well. Hvar West Post has had another redesign. This base seems to be another one that's had multiple redesigns. And this one kind of goes crazy on those ramp stairs. What was quite a small base before has turned into quite a little complex. With Sundra huts, smaller buildings, and a multitude of those stair ramps from the main spawn room through to A. Lots of cover provided for the walkways as well. On to Torech Tech Plant. So apparently there's an unintuitive road between Torech Depot and Torech Tower been moved. You can see that that road from the tower in between the rocks has now been blocked off. You can still get through if you're infantry or something like that, but you cannot drive between the depot and Torech Tower now. Also, they've disabled the AV turrets from the flight deck on the tech plant. Interesting changes to Torech Depot as well. Seem to spend a lot of time on this base. Well, there's significant work been done here. That normal L-shaped building, where the cap point used to be, has been replaced by a large building. Also, the gates in the north, pointing up towards Crossroads area, that now has a large bridge, large covered bridge, from that gate down to the 8-point building. So if you're pushing in from that direction, you're going to have a few more options. Also, the spawn room has been reoriented as well. It used to be pushed more up into the rocks. Well, that spawn room has been turned through about 90 degrees, I'd say, and relocated slightly as well. Lots of additions. Things like the generator for the vehicle shield, that has moved outside of the main base as well. A bit easier to pop that gen. The vehicle spawn is right next to the new spawn room as well, which is right next to the main gate. So that looks eminently hackable, but obviously you're being overlooked by the spawn the whole time. This is still a work in progress. Torech Tower, not massive changes to the base itself, but as the notes say, you can now attack the Stronghold and Gravel Pass directly from Torech Tower. So yeah, Black Shard Iridium Mine is dead. As we progress down this road towards the Stronghold, you'll see the remnants of that base. In actual fact, because it's PTS, you can actually see some floating buildings as well. I don't believe that's the new troop carrier being tested on PTS. Those are just buildings that are to be removed. But that base that we all used to fight at, but really it was always a bit of a rollover, wasn't it? You can just see parts of it still there. I do like the idea of leaving little bits of bases around, so that long-term players remember where bases used to be. But now from Torech Tower you run straight through to the Stronghold. But similarly you can attack Gravel Pass. There's a couple of ways round. There's the main roadway, just round to the side. A bit of a canyon to drive through, but if you've got vehicles, this is the best route to take. There is a more direct route. You can just see there's a small path between Torech Tower and Gravel Pass. Looks passable for troops, or maybe some particularly adventurous Sundra drivers. So Mao Tech Plant itself, that has its AV turrets disabled from the flight deck, but Mao Southwest has had more significant changes. The spawn point and cap point locations have been swapped. The size of the base has actually been increased as well. And there's an extra gate shield facing the tech plant side. So yeah, you can see again on the minimap that those buildings have been moved. In terms of making the base bigger, it's no bigger towards the east, it's actually quite a bit bigger towards the north. As we fly to the north side of the base, you can see that that north wall has been pulled out quite significantly. So that base is almost a full tower's width wider on that side. Also, the gate shield generator is now in a small outside building. Bit easier to flip than having to push inside. And on to the battlefield areas. So this is Quartz Ridge to Hvar Databank, what used to be Hvar Northgate. This has had some significant changes made. The notes say should now be much easier to fight from Quartz Ridge up to Hvar due to the hill being less steep. I don't know if the hill itself feels less steep, but they also say additional road added to the east. That's on the left hand side of this screen as you're currently looking. What was always a kind of unofficial road is certainly now a full road. There's like a small stairs structure, and just to the south of that is a secondary road. This road itself quite steep, but giving you a whole alternate route to push up to the Hvar region. This Quartz Ridge up to what was Hvar Northgate was always a bit of a valley of death. I think we all know that. It was good fun, but also it could be massively frustrating. If you had a large number of vehicles, this was often the place where they met their deaths. Might argue it's lost some of its charm, having Hvar Northgate not be this big battle area that you're attacking, but I would imagine they had some information in terms of player movement that meant that this had to be sorted out, so I can kind of understand that. The notes also mentioned that the Hvar and Hvar satellite areas, that now has much more room, so should lead to better fights. I'd certainly say, like we looked at earlier, that the distance between what used to be Hvar Northgate and is now Hvar Databank and the actual tech plant, that is quite a bit more space. If you lose what is now Hvar Databank, you've got a bit more time and a bit more space to set up a defense of the actual tech plant. So overall, a bit more distance between bases can add a bit more interest. This next one is the area from Quartz Ridge to Indar. They said that they added a road missing to reflect the lattice connectivity. I'm a bit... okay, I don't like this, to be honest. I mean, the lattice itself is quite easy to read off the map. I know that for newer players maybe it's not so obvious, but I used to like this valley between Quartz Ridge and Indar being this kind of untouched area. You felt like you were off-road. Maybe for new players, reading what's going on in the game, having roads is a good way of funneling people in different directions, but at some point I want to feel like I'm making a decision and hey, we're heading over here. If I'm just funneling down roads or just following a road, I don't know, it seems a bit processional to me. But yeah, this road's been added. And the final point is Mao Southwest to Briggs Laboratories. We're just over Briggs now, and you can see that there's an extra road been added towards Mau southwest. There was already the sort of main roadway to the right-hand side of the screen, but now there's another road been added to the left-hand side of the screen as well. Bit like the Quartz Ridge thing. To be honest, I don't think that road needs to be there. It almost felt like a bit of a shortcut. If you were new to the game, maybe you went out to the road and then realised that you could travel along. A lot of seasoned players knew that you could just drive straight over that dirt area and straight onto Mau southwest. I think maybe on the verge of spoon-feeding information to players here in terms of the road network, describing the lattice. I think there has to be a balance between spoon-feeding players information in terms of the lattice and connectivity via the road network, and more seasoned players knowing a better route through from one area to the next. Just adding roads everywhere feels like it's perhaps going a little bit too far in that direction. So that's our finished look at the changes to Indar. Obviously these changes are all work in progress, some of them specifically work in progress mentioned in the release notes. There's actually quite a lot in these release notes. There's all different feature changes in terms of battle ranks, leadership changes, other things as well that I want to look at in another video. I just wanted to get the actual Indar changes out so people could see them. Also, I wanted to get back into making Planetside 2 videos again, something that I've not done for a while. But now that there seems to be new content coming out, there's this resource collection and the new Ant finally been added to PTS and easily accessible. Things like the heavy shield has been rebalanced as well. Lots of cool new stuff being added to PTS, which I'm very happy to see. I appreciate you watching this video, thank you very much for doing so. If you like this video, if you want me to keep doing Planetside 2 videos, which I do want to keep doing, if you do want to, please just hit that subscribe button, maybe leave me a thumb up if you like the video. Thank you very much for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm @LCTRGames, and I will see you next time, hopefully soon. Take care.